whatever this is. All right. So, sincere welcome to everyone who's here. A lot of collective energy by all of our showing up together. So, if I'm a little bit tired, and Alice is a little bit tired, and Alex is a little bit tired, all of us coming together, we've got a lot of energy, even though we're a little bit tired. So, I appreciate this collective energy a lot, and I hope we can make a good use of it. I hope we can all feel inspired by it to really step in wholeheartedly to our meditation practice, our introspection practice, our exploration practice of, first and foremost, our direct human experience that's happening right now. And then we may also look into some avenues of Buddhist teachings and interesting questions and ideas that might come up along the way. Okay, so I thought to offer this little snippet of a Zen teaching to kind of inspire us and get us started today, and then we'll get into some meditation. So this is a short teaching on awakening, right? The subject of awakening. Enlightenment in Buddhism is often called waking up. So what the Buddha got from meditation, what the Buddha's enlightenment is nothing more than waking up to reality, waking up from a dream of attachment, self-fixation, desire. So awakening is enlightenment, to wake up from the dream of our life. Once you realize universal emptiness, all objects are spontaneously penetrated. Integrating the world and beyond, it contains all states of being within. If you lose the essence, there is nothing after all. If you attain the function, there is spiritual effect. The genuine path of unminding is not a religion for the immature. Okay, so I'll read this again and then give some extra information, give some commentary on it. Once you realize universal emptiness, all objects are spontaneously penetrated. Okay, so once you realize this universal emptiness or universal truth, once you realize reality itself, all objects of body or mind are spontaneously penetrated. They are seen through to the root, so that we are not blocked by or burdened by anything, mental or physical. And that's penetrating all objects means that we are integrating the world and beyond, integrating everything, becoming a collaboration of the world and beyond. Okay? This universal emptiness is not a rejection or a nihilism. Rather, it is said, it contains all states of being within. So this emptiness is like the unborn, the unconcocted, the all-pervasive space. If you lose the essence, there is nothing after all. So if you lose this deeper truth in your life, you'll find that there's not really any deeper truth anyway. If you lose the essence, there's nothing after all. We can say there's nothing to lose. If you attain the function, there is spiritual effect. So if you attain the getting involved, the practice itself, the realizing itself, then there is a spiritual effect, okay? A healing and unbinding and untangling. The genuine path of unminding is not a religion for the immature. So the genuine path of detachment, the genuine path of not getting involved in the concoctions of mind, the complicatedness of mind, not relying on those stories and beliefs and judgments, but the genuine path of unminding, aware and not attached, is not a religion for the immature. And that's by Fen Yang. Fen Yang. We'll read one more of these. It's like a compilation of Zen teachings. This one is with the title Body and Mind, and so we've been looking at that over the past few days, these concept of a body experience or a physical experience and a mind experience that does not necessarily have to have a self in it. Okay, that there's not, there can be a body and there can be a mind without there needing to be a self. Do you want to know what my body is? My body is the same as the whole earth. Do you want to know what my mind is? My mind is the same as space itself. Do you want to know what my vision is? I see there is nothing to see. Do you want to know what I hear? I hear the unheard. Since I have been seeing and hearing, why then do I speak of the unheard? If you listen with your ears, after all, you cannot understand. When you hear through your eyes, only then will you know. Okay? So let's all practice hearing through our eyes. Go ahead and find a meditation position. Okay? And that's also you find the meditation position for your mind. So find your intention, right? Why do you want to be here? Why do you want to meditate? Don't write a novel about it, but find that intention. Why do you want to be here? What's your purpose? So finding that intention, okay, finding that sincerity in the mind. Make sure that you're in a comfortable and stable meditation position for your body. Okay, it doesn't need to be perfect, but definitely if you notice there's a place in the body that's uncomfortable or painful, adjust that. Give some attention to that. Really try to start from a comfortable position. And then as we find the body to be okay enough, comfortable enough. If we're sitting cross-legged, we can bring our shoulders back, can make sure that our spine is upright, okay, that our head is upright. There's not so many things that we do in our lives that are dignified, right? Most of us aren't some kind of royalty. But meditation is one of those activities where it's a dignified activity. It's something that we want to feel really confident in doing, and knowing that it's a thing that we should do, that it's good to do, and that it's good to share with others. So we sit upright with our shoulders back, our chest open, our stomach open. Okay, we can say a soft front and a strong back. Just sitting comfortable and stable, upright. Can take a few deep breaths, breathing that sincerity and that presence of mind into the body. So breathing in deeply and bringing the mind home to the body. Begin to fill the body up with our attention, our presence, our awareness. As we become more aware of the body, we can relax the body more. Relax any tightness or sensations. The mind tends to always be moving, and our body tends to always be following the mind in that way. So even if our body isn't moving around in activity, maybe the heart is fluttering or the breath is changing and is kind of in movement. And there's a lot of momentum behind that. So when we start to sit down and we start to bring the mind home to the body and start to still and calm, there's a lot of momentum to move and to be in static and be in friction. So just notice that and relax it. It's okay. Whatever we experience in meditation is okay. It's normal. Our practice is not controlling the mind or making it be a certain way or stopping it or silencing it, but it's being with the mind, being with the body through our meditation method. So that is that we sit the body down, comfortable and stable. Bring our attention onto the breath, especially the feeling of the breath as it enters in through the nose, through the nostrils. And then just follow the breath as it flows in deeply through the nose, going into the nostrils, down the throat, all the way into the lungs and deep down into the belly. Following the breath as it flows in deeply and flows out. All of your interest, all of your sincerity to meditate, give it all to just following the breath, just breathing in through the nose, feeling it flow in and flow out. No special experience, no special understanding, no progress, no failure, but just give all that energy to following the breath as it flows in deeply and flows out. More and more aware of the body, more and more relaxing, willing to let go of thoughts or sensations that come up that we get involved with, and then just coming back to the breath, flowing in deeply and flowing out. And that quality of not getting anything is really good. Okay, we're not here to get anything. We're not here to do it right. Just sitting, the body still, just breathing. Whatever else comes up, whatever we grab onto and say, oh, what? Just come back. Just breathing. Just being aware. As the breath flows in and flows out. Another dimension, aspect of our meditation that we can be aware of, that we can touch, is that even though the mind may be busy or things are going on, even though the body may be busy, things are going on, there is this capacity, this ability to just breathe and be aware. And that we practice, our meditation is a practice of relying on that, just breathing, just being aware, rather than relying on that static, that friction, that activity of the body or the mind. Whatever it is that's going on is completely okay. But we just come back and stay with the breath at this moment as it flows in through our nostrils and flows out. When you reach that point of not getting anything, well, I'm done, I'm giving up, this doesn't work, I'm not getting it, whatever. Just let yourself feel that without reacting to it. Because we, almost all the time, we're giving up on something. Something's a little bit too difficult or a little bit too burdensome or complicated, so we just, we give it up, we don't really try. But when we feel that in our meditation, just, okay, this doesn't work. This isn't working. I don't like this. And feeling into that, breathing into that, really seeing it for what it is at this present moment. And our way of seeing, our way of being with, is our meditation method. Just sitting, just breathing, just being aware. Okay, so we are now going to move into our Dhamma reading, our Buddhist teaching study. This past week, I'm not sure how many days it's been, but we've been going through the teachings of Buddha Dasa. And so Buddha Dasa is this really great philosopher monk from Thailand who passed away maybe 20, 30 years ago, or more, but he brought a really deep scientific way of understanding the Buddhist teachings. And we've been reading through that, and we're going to continue doing that today. I encourage you to listen from the heart, listen from the breath, listen from the body, and at any point that the mind feels intellectual or complicated, or like you don't understand something, just stay with the breath, stay with the body. We're not going to understand everything, and that's okay. But if there's something that you have a clear question about that comes up, then you can also ask that, okay? And we'll stop at certain points to give a chance for asking questions. All right? So, last time we left off with the idea of the mind, the nature of mind as being essentially uncorrupted and uncorruptible, that troubles and difficulties are stirred up or experienced only when things are impacting mind, or only when we get attached or involved in something. And then anxiety or a fear or a depression might come up, but that the nature of mind is none of those things. The nature of mind is not anger or greed or delusion, but rather that these are a kind of negative mind states that come up in the mind, come up in our awareness according to cause and conditions, and in the same way that they come up, they pass away. But the essence of mind is not those things, and is more the awareness itself of those states, and that the mind itself is pure, bright, clean, total awareness, total openness, spaciousness. Therefore, we can separate corruption from mind through the simple method of acting rightly in regard to whatever provokes it. So we can further and further distinguish the mind itself from the corruptions or the defilements, the negative mind states that come up, by acting rightly, acting skillfully according to what provokes us. Okay, maybe it's too hot, maybe it's too cold, maybe somebody's poking our belly. Depending on how we can react to that, respond to that, we can separate the corruption from the mind. So even though that anger may arise, even though that disturbance may arise, we are still aware of the mind itself, awareness itself. So we don't react, we don't get stuck in this kind of fight or flight response. And this is the practice of mental cultivation, whether that's concentration meditation or kind of trying to see into the nature of how the mind functions. Okay. And these ways of meditation are referred to as a psycho-spiritual training or mental cultivation. And it is essential that we get involved in these kind of practices if we want to heal and understand and develop our minds and know about the true mind. So, misunderstanding gives rise to superstitious belief. Misunderstanding gives rise to superstitious belief. We'll continue with our reading. The fifth thing you need to understand is that mind is difficult to understand. Okay? We need to understand this. And consequently, we don't understand it truly and properly. We misunderstand mind and, for instance, take it to be a ghost, spirit, or something too mysterious to understand. We speak of it in strange, bizarre, or supernatural terms, whatever pleases us at the time, all of which should be categorized as superstition. Now, this would just comes to my mind. So, Ajahn Buddhadasa, this great philosopher monk here, is speaking for this Thai culture. Okay, this Southeast Asian culture where superstition and animalism, or maybe that's animalism, but a certain kind of folk religion of, worshiping spirits and ghosts and different things like that is very alive. Even though it's not really what Buddhism is about, it's a traditions that are very alive in Asia. These kinds of superstitions. So we Buddhadasa says here, we misunderstand mind and, for instance, take it to be a ghost, spirit, or something too mysterious to understand. We speak of it in these strange or supernatural terms. Now that's for the East. For the West, we have the same thing, only we've called it modern psychology. In many ways. I'm not going to necessarily say that that's what it is right here, right now, but 20, 30 years ago, oh, this person is a neurodivergent, let's electrocute them, let's lobotomize them. It's like this, it's like that. It's all these superfluous terms and ideas and special thinking, misunderstanding, too mysterious to understand. So whatever, we just kind of hold on to this superstition. Okay, so we in the West also have a kind of superstition. We've just called it science at certain times. All right, and I'm not trying to discount all modern psychology, but a lot of it has been based in loose thinking, So we misunderstand mind. And, for instance, take it to be a ghost, a spirit, or something too mysterious to understand. We speak of it in strange, bizarre, or supernatural terms, or hyper-specific terms that maybe don't come from wisdom. Whatever pleases us at the time, all of which should be or whatever is convenient at the time, all of which should be categorized as a kind of superstition. Okay, and so there's the Buddhist word for this is sayastra, which means the science of remaining asleep. Okay, so all of this kind of general, vague ways of seeing the mind should be seen as a science of staying asleep. All right, that's superstition. Superstition believes in the incomprehensible and irrational, and it occurs because we don't understand the true nature of mind. If we understood mind as it really is, superstitious beliefs wouldn't occur. Nobody would ever think and believe in such ways. At present, we don't know mind as it actually is. It's a mystery to us. So we concoct speculations and blindly follow the claims of others. We place faith in superstitious, unreasonable knowledge that is based in blind belief or bad science, which has led to a profusion of ideologies and sects. SETS. This science of remaining asleep is very powerful, even after our many scientific advances. These beliefs arose tens and hundreds of thousands of years ago and persist powerfully to this day. And so beliefs here in that Southeast Asian context can be certain ghosts or spirits and these ideas, but for our Western side, certain habits of mind, certain ways of thinking, and an overconfidence perhaps about what we understand and what we know about that didn't just arrive yesterday, but have arisen over tens and hundreds, thousands of years ago and have persisted, these qualities of ignorance in our mind. So superstition arose when human beings first began to think about mind and misunderstood its nature. Such belief has the advantage of not having to be logical and not needing to be explained. It's all about believing, which has a strong appeal. This science of remaining asleep is seductive, okay? And I'm sure anyone who wakes up tired knows about that. We have our own little science of remaining asleep, going back to sleep. It's very seductive. The more mysterious such beliefs are, the more people take to them. When something is transparent and can be frankly, clearly explained, people don't accept it so easily. But the more something smacks of mystery and is incomprehensible, the more people willingly take it in. Such is superstition's big advantage. Even more ridiculous is that practically everybody is fond of how cheap it is. Superstitious beliefs involve very little investment, a pig's head, perhaps, or a bottle of liquor offered to the spirits or gods, or taking a ice pick and putting it into someone's brain. Okay? So this superstition is something that's very alive, very real, and causes a lot of problems. So such conveniences or advantages have kept this science of remaining asleep, Sayastra, this science of superstition, alive and kicking right down to the present day. Such superstitions are born of our instinct for ignorance, which makes them compatible with any foolish instincts we still have. For example, take the desires to have others help us rather than helping ourselves. This superstition, this science of remaining asleep, will offer immediate help, and people buy it because it fits their instinct to have others help them. Children, once they are born, receive all kinds of help from parents and other caregivers, and can lose the strength of character needed to help themselves. They repeatedly rely on help from others until the habit becomes well entrenched, and they can't get by without help from others. This is to superstition's advantage. Once such people don't know how to help themselves, they must rely on spirits, angels, and gods instead, or pharmaceutical companies, okay, as well. Can be, not always. Not always like that. Any question or comment so far?
Do you think that would also apply to like modern day therapy?
Well, it's I think therapy is more about like what works. And so if you have a good therapist, it means that they work and they have a lot of skills and tools to help you come to peace in your mind and in your life. So that's less, I think, worrisome. And I mean, some superstition as well is not so worrisome, but it's the root of ignorance that's being pointed to here. And so the easy way to point out the problem of ignorance is to talk about the extremes. Okay, so like the extremes of, okay, a kid is growing up in a household that is not really supportive for raising a child, and so they have symptoms of, quote unquote ADHD or depression, and now they're being put on SSRIs, something like that. This is this kind of convenience of superstition, whereas the real answer to something like that, the real wisdom is the conditions of that home or the conditions of that environment have led to that situation. And so that's how that you cure the problem, the deeper problem. So this is more talking about the root of ignorance in superstition rather than, we need to do things absolutely the right way. Do the best that you can. If you have a good therapist, that's great. If you take Ritalin and that helps you, that's great. Do your best, do the very best that you can. But here in particular, we're talking about this ignorance, this lack of deeper wisdom and deeper understanding that makes people have to completely rely on pharmaceutical drugs, or have to completely rely on these kind of rituals of ghosts and spirits and making offerings to deal with their lives, and totally kind of leaves them out of the truth, or these avenues to go to the root of it.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. So, I mean, heck, if you've got a good therapist, send them my way. A good therapist is a good therapist. Whatever works is good. Um, but we should be careful about um, our ease of relying on things that are convenient rather than looking into what is true. Okay. So let's keep going here. Or maybe someone else said something. Someone else want to say something?
It's sorry. I'm hoping to go into that field actually. So this has been a really enjoyable conversation. Or thank you.
Yeah, actually, one of the I bring up the psychology thing. It's not a hill I am intending to die on, but with Buddha Dasa here, really pointing to the Eastern side of things, of animism and spirits and ghosts, which we as Western people might, we raise our chin up at, oh, I don't believe in that. This isn't about me. But, 20, 30 years ago, we were all running around following Freud and lobotomists and drugging women for pregnancy and whatever, because because they were women or too mysterious or whatever. So we also have our superstitions. But when I first got started in my Buddhist path and started to make some progress, one of the biggest supporting factors for that was I was living in this Zen meditation center, this intentional community in America, and I had access to a therapist, actually an art therapist, who was a woman who was involved in Zen for 20, 30 years. And that was just deeply empowering to have a good therapist and someone to really talk to and listen to support my development, my practice at that time. Is very, very helpful and meaningful. Yeah. Okay. So let's continue on with our reading. All right. See where we get to here. So once such people raised in superstitious conditions or environments don't know how to help themselves, they must rely on spirits, angels, and gods instead. Okay? Taking this superstitious path obstructs truth, which fits with weak-minded intelligence or shallow thinking. This world has many fools. Okay, we probably have about 25 of them here in this Discord, right? One way or another. I hope we'll all make great strides where it wouldn't be accurate to say that, but I'm certainly pretty foolish. So this world has many fools, people lacking in wisdom who often prefer this science of sleeping to the Dhamma and reality. Okay, so like truth teachings, powerful, skillful teachings, and reality. We often prefer that science of sleeping, that science of staying asleep, to the truth and to reality. Consequently, superstition is popularly received and firmly established in our world. Don't think that there aren't any superstitious beliefs and practices in developed, prosperous countries. we find it there too, according to their cultural traditions, such as misunderstandings about God and calling on God for assistance. These beliefs will persist as long as ignorant human beings, no matter where they are, have an instinctual preference for the easy way, to let somebody else do for them what they should do, what they can do for themselves. In the end, it is all mixed up and confused, and the sciences of sleeping that people create come back to be their lords and masters. All right, so those sciences of sleeping, or those sciences of coping, sometimes at that time, maybe it helps us cope or it helps us get through it, whatever. But at the end of the day, a little bit down the line, that superstition that we've created to deal with our suffering or cope with our difficulties become our Lord, our master. Okay, we become secondary. Our truth, our way of living becomes secondary to that superstitious coping mechanism. Superstitions created by their own ignorance come back to rule them. How ridiculous is that? Such superstition needs to be understood clearly. When we misunderstand and react wrongly regarding mind, we create systems for more foolish credulity. Credulity. I don't know what that is. I'm going to find out. Credulity. A tendency to be too ready to believe that something is real or true. Okay? So such superstition that we have developed needs to be understood clearly. When we misunderstand and react wrongly or take care of unskillfully regarding the mind, we create systems for more foolish readiness to accept things too quickly, too ready to accept something as true or real. Okay, so we see this billboard, or we see this announcement, or we see this person, or we see this idea, this story. Oh, that's got to be real. I've got to panic. I've got to react. I've got to do something about this, right? Because really, we don't even know what real is when we're so caught up in superstition. We're far too ready to accept things, to believe something is real or true from this system of superstition that we develop. These systems of superstition are opposed to truth and reality. Those of a superstitious inclination have insulted and reviled me until exhausting their vocabulary, but I remain undaunted and continue to point to the truth of these matters. Essentially, if we know mind as it really is, all superstition will dissolve of its own accord. So this practice of meditation as a way of seeing into the truth and a way of seeing into the nature of mind, just by that practice in and of itself, those outlying superstitions that we tend to be involved with or too ready to believe in naturally are dissolved and kind of seen through just through our practice, our continued practice of facing mind, knowing mind, investigating this present moment experience. Body, physical, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, mind. Investigate, look into it, face it. Nowadays, superstitious beliefs have reached an amazing level. As an example, people dab ritual marks on Buddha images to bestow them with the power of a Buddha. Images are cast in a foundry, but can't be used until someone comes along to apply the auspicious signs. Only then can they be Buddhas. Think about this. Common people create Buddhas just by making special marks on metal and stone images. That's a lot of Buddhas. Among the superstitious, that little mark is good for life. Merely take some powder, add holy water, bless it, and dab a little on the forehead, and that's good for life. You can see for yourself whether this is truly good or not. And maybe one thing we can, in the West or in America, we kind of worship money, right? So money is power. So people get a big chain or diamonds or other status symbol, a Bugatti or a special car, totally unnecessary, totally not needed. But through that item that's hyper material, we immediately feel that our lives are somehow empowered or blessed or we're special or we're protected or whatever. And so it's a similar kind of superstition, maybe a little bit more practical. You can only sell these Buddha statues or whatever for so much, but I think it's the same basic premise. We have this superstition that, no, I can't get the Corolla, I need to get the Camry. Well, it's the same thing at the end of the day, right? The Bugatti and the Toyota are just about the same thing at the end of the day. So relax. Don't be so superstitious. You can see for yourself whether this is truly good or not. And I myself have experienced, I feel, not necessarily when I was a monk, but I feel I need to get this higher level, this nicer thing. Sure, I've experienced this as a monk. That's what I need to get. So it needs to be more expensive and the better one. That's what I need to get. And then you get it, and it becomes just whatever it is. Your $1,000 phone after a month or 2 months or whatever is the same as a $200 phone. Period. It's just a phone that you use to call or look at the internet or whatever. Same with a computer or a car or a house or whatever it is. It just becomes the same exact thing because it's just something you're using. So it's this superstition that we hold on to. No, I need to get the really nice thing. I need to get the really nice one because it's going to make a difference. It's going to make my life better or whatever. When it comes down to it, it's just the same. Okay? It's not that different. Misunderstanding of truth, reality, Dhamma, and mind creates systems of superstition, systems of the science of sleeping. If we surrender to the power of superstition, we won't be able to connect with Dhamma, and Dhamma will be worthless for us. So Dhamma as the truth teachings, the skillful expressions that bring us to a deeper understanding, to see clearly. The Dhamma is that which unobstructs that which is obstructed. So if we surrender to the power of superstition, we won't be able to connect with Dhamma. We won't be able to connect with the truth, and the Dhamma, the truth, will be worthless for us. We won't benefit from the Dhamma because we misunderstand the facts of nature, especially concerning mind. Misunderstanding and faith in superstition create a great obstacle that keeps people from connecting fully with Buddhology, Buddha Sastra, that is, the science of awakening. Okay, this is what Buddhism is about, the science of awakening, period. This is what Buddhism is about. The big Buddha, right, Siddhartha Gautama, the enlightened one, you can get the same enlightenment that he had, okay? So it's just like if you were Christian and you could get the same, you could be the Son of God just like Jesus, whatever. So Buddhology, Buddhism, is the science of waking up. That's what it's about. Superstition, however, inhibits, suppresses, opposes, and prevents realization of truth. And superstition as our shallow thinking, all right, our proclivity towards systems of assumption that aren't based on investigation and a deeper experience of what's true at this present moment, okay? Superstition inhibits, suppresses, opposes, and prevents realization of truth. If humanity doesn't understand these matters, then the science of sleeping will increasingly dominate and this world will become increasingly ridiculous. Okay? And there's a good ridiculous and a bad ridiculous, but it's kind of, whatever, it becomes more ridiculous. Everyone deserves compassion and care, but there is a ridiculousness to it. So if humanity doesn't understand these matters, this science of sleeping will increasingly dominate, and this world will become increasingly ridiculous. Dukkha, this suffering, this deep sense of not being satisfied, of being thirsty and cannot satiate it, is not quenchable, is not able to be satisfied when the true nature of mind and body are misunderstood or disregarded entirely or seen as a lesser truth, which is a predicament of our own creation. So study. Now listen to this. This is really it. So study, investigate, look closely at the deep and complex mechanisms of the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind adequately, sincerely, wholeheartedly. Then you will know the truths and realities we speak of as ultimate Dhamma, ultimate truth. Through this highest Dhamma, you will realize path, fruit, and nibbana, awakening. So path, planting the seeds, fruit, experiencing the fruits of the seeds that you plant, and then eventually the holy fruit, the fruit of the holy life, waking up, the ending of suffering. So through this highest Dhamma, investigating the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind, you will realize path, fruit, and awakening, so that you are able to live above dukkha, above suffering, above dissatisfaction, and mind won't be afflicted anymore. Mind will be luminous and bright and peaceful all the time. Okay, any question or sharing?
Yeah, I got something small. I'm audible, correct?
Yes.
All right, perfect. So I was working at a job for 6 years, and I was starting to become very unhappy with it because there was little opportunities for raises, and there was some deep personal conflicts I had with certain people there and individuals, and I wasn't very happy working there. And eventually, I ended up quitting. And at first, I was like really like anxious about not having money and stuff like that. And then within like 2 or 3 weeks, I'm making way more money than I was there. We get attached to stuff that becomes unsatisfactory, and sometimes we just need to figure out when to move on. It's nice to hear what you were just talking about and see that kind of reflected in the own experience recently. That's all. Thank you.
Okay,
I have a question.
yeah, Alex.
So do you then believe that a layperson can achieve awakening? Because I know that some texts teach that you have to fully devote yourself to monastic life in order to get there. And they don't really even recommend a layperson attempt to go there.
Well, there's a few different ways of considering enlightenment. The way that I'm more inclined to, and they all kind of go together. They're not really separate, but the way that I more focus on and emphasize is this letting go of your desire, your fear, aversion, letting go of your self-fixation at this present moment, and stepping into peace at this very moment. Okay. So Thich Nhat Hanh translates the Four Noble Truths as a lack of well-being, the cause of a lack of well-being, and the path to well-being. Okay, the Four Noble Truths. So this is a sincere way to understand a waking up and the ending of suffering. When we're talking about arahatship or reaching like full blissed out ultimate superhero enlightenment, I mean, it's just kind of a attachment that we have in our mind, and it's not really that relevant for anyone, outside of a very, very small amount of people who, spend a year laying down 15 minutes a day. Uncomprehendable, intense, superhero kind of practices. It's possible to do that, but not really as a layperson, to train the mind to that very, very sharp degree. And so the image, or like the attached idea of an arahat or an enlightened person that people might aspire to, is not necessarily what enlightenment is really about, because it's just an attachment in your mind. But that degree of practice is not really doable as a layperson, and it's not really doable as a monk for 90%, 99% of monks either. It's extremely uncommon to train to that degree, and you're likely to get caught up in some kind of self neuroses before you get to the point of actually letting go of that whole charade of you need to do something and try and strive to get to some point of awakening and enlightenment, but that you have to wake up from this dream of attachment. So be practical and simple, and the enlightenment, the peace, the well-being that you can find here in this present moment, well, I'd trade that for any kind of big anime martial arts movie story of me becoming some kind of superhero. Sure, I hope that happens. That'd be great. I hope someone here, starts to, hey, I've been in the mountains for 10 years. I'm happy to be back on the Discord. That would be wonderful. I hope you to go do that. But I would trade peace and well-being and happiness at this moment for that any day of the week, for sure. Because one is real and one is just a fantasy. And a very self-fixated fantasy, right? Okay.
One more note. After I lost my job, and I had the 2 week time period of just basically meditating and exercising each day, there was a point where I was like, okay, I'm gonna see how long I can meditate. And I ended up meditating for about 5 hours and then just cried a bunch and fell asleep. So certainly really, really quite far from being enlightened, but I'm happy to be here.
I have a question about what we were reading about.
Yeah.
So you were reading about how people are quick to accept things that aren't real or true, and get attached to these superstitious concepts, and the harm that that brings. Do you think that there is also such thing perhaps as rejecting concepts too vehemently? Would that produce a similar harm? Some people are, I mean, obviously, I'm not a very superstitious person, but I'm just wondering if the other extreme is also harmful, as in people who are vehemently atheistic. I don't believe in any of this stuff. You see what? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's
You see where I'm
both.
going with my question?
Yeah, they both come from a shallow state of mind. And so the invitation here is not to reject any particular kind of superstition, but it's to focus on and point at this shallow way of thinking that is so readily able to accept and adopt some kind of belief or idea or rejection. That can also be a rejection. Okay? So it's pointing to this matter of seeing for yourself. You need to see for yourself about this, and not to be so easily and readily to rely on shallow thinking. Okay, I'm an atheist. God is a joke. I'm going to go debate with Christian people. Well, what the heck is God? And who are these people you're debating with, and what do they understand about God? And it's the issue is relying on shallow thinking and being so ready to adopt that shallow thinking as some kind of truth.
And to follow up with that, I guess, how would you recommend shedding light on this to people who do have that kind of shallow thinking, just as a gentle encouragement? Yeah, shedding light, helping them see maybe. How would you go about that?
Try to encourage them to practice with you, right? And one of the good practices, if we can have the meditative mind, okay, if we can really bring our practice into our own heart and our own breath and our own way of living, then inviting someone to go for a hike is going to be a totally different experience. We're going to bring them along into that. And also volunteer. Everyone here, if you can try to find a way to volunteer and to do good deeds in your life. And so we have, hosting meditation sessions. That's one way that you can do it here in the server. This is my volunteering. I consider it that. Find a way to do that. Maybe a soup kitchen in your area, or a best case scenario, some kind of disadvantaged kids that you can go and play with and be kind and wonderful to. I mean, that's ideal. But do get involved in those kind of activities. And if we know someone who kind of leans more into shallowness in their lives, and especially like a confidence about shallow thinking, and they're not really that happy and that peaceful, don't judge them and don't really try to fix their mind, but invite them to get involved with you. Okay. That's what I'm doing. And it helps my practice a lot. So okay, Ali has a important question here. What does it mean to study the eyes and the ears, and how should one go about that? Okay, so a way that I've talked about this before and I like is, so we're giving so much importance to our desire. Okay, we're like a little space alien, and we want to go and taste this, and there's a quality of innocence to it, but we're not so innocent at this point, right? It would be nice, but we're not so innocent. But there is a quality of innocence to this kind of desire, and just wandering around like a little space alien. Oh, that might taste good. That looks interesting. I'm going to play with that. Oh, now I'm bored, so I'm going to do this. There's this childish aspect that we have. But then the layer on top of that is being kind of supported by this simple actions of desire is complicated thinking, a story about our lives, a story about ourselves and other people, and all of these neuroses that come from that, our anxiety, our depression, we can't even sit still and be with the breath, or or listen to something like this, because our neuroses are just constantly running around, and we have to constantly be going from thing to thing and distracting ourselves or whatever a lot of the time. So the practice of investigating the eyes, the ears, the nose, the tongue, the body, and the mind is to recognize the relevance and the importance of these aspects of your life, your reality, moment by moment. Okay? So we give so much attention to our thoughts and our thinking and the pool of our neurotic desire, okay, the pool of our feeling of not being satisfied. Well, how about and then we come to meditation and says, okay, so focus on your vision itself. Focus on your eyes. You don't even have to focus on your vision itself. Too complicated. Focus on your eyes. Okay, so and then someone leaves, said, well, that's crazy. I don't care about my eyes. I want Cheetos. I want chocolate, right? Someone runs away. Get out of here. Well, what if you lost your eyes right now? Okay, what if you lost your ears, your ability to hear right now? What if you lost your ability to smell or to taste right now? What if you lost this body right now? It would be totally earth shattering for you, life changing for you. So, to investigate the eyes, to investigate the ears, is to start giving attention to something that is so precious to us. And there's not a special way of investigating it. It's to give our attention to that which is so precious, so vital to us each and every moment of our lives, but we just kind of treat as a empty, crumpled up Mountain Dew can or a dried up McDonald's French fry. We treat our body like that because we don't give our attention to it. We don't give our care and our consideration to it. So the eyes, the ears, the nose, the tongue, the body, and the mind are carrying within them these deep and complex mechanisms, ways of being, the ways of the eyes, the ways of the ears, the ways of the nose. And if we can look at that, give our attention to that, and study these, look at these adequately, sufficiently, give sufficient attention just to what we already have right here and right now, then we can understand the truth, the reality, the ultimate reality of this life. Okay? So it's to put down all of that complicated thinking and desires and stories, and it's to start investigate what is here right now. Okay? The eyes, the ears, the nose, the tongue, the body, the mind. How should one go about that? You can sit comfortably and focus on your breath and notice hearing, the hearing itself. Notice the seeing, or just give your attention to your eyes. It's not complicated. It's just a matter of turning your attention inward and giving your attention to what's here right now. Okay, the body and the mind. And to practice that, because we, give our attention to the seeing itself, right? Okay, I'm starting to look at and focus on my seeing itself or my hearing itself, and then you hear something that sounds real good, and then you run over and follow that or chase that. Or you see something that looks really tasty, and now you're, hunched over in the corner eating, and and then your belly's full, you're tired, you got to rest, and then you come back to it. You come back to this investigation, this looking, this giving attention to. That's what's really important. This coming back, restarting, refreshing. It's not I got to do as much meditation as I can to figure this all out and whatever. You can try that, but don't be attached to that. Because what's important is to come back and explore this practice. Gentle, open-hearted, flexible, right? And sincere, and with friends, right? We rely on our friends. We don't just get totally stuck in our own way of seeing things, our own way of thinking, but flexible and open and with community. So we can take care of each other as we investigate. All right, Ali, I hope that's helpful. Anyone else?
Just a quick thing. So, just to my understanding, it seems like the answer is that this is like really, really simple. And making it any more complicated will just make it go farther away. So, is it just about practicing and getting better? And there really isn't anything else to it? Is that the way, is that how simple it should be?
Well, it's standing outside of the diamond mind and feeling satisfied with yourself when people are coming out of the mind holding diamonds. You didn't go in there. You didn't get it. So it's not, you don't get the reward. Okay? You don't get the understanding or the brightness or what have you. So it's a matter of simply going into that diamond mind, being willing to step into the practice. You don't need more than a pickaxe and a pair of eyes. Okay, you don't need more than your sincerity, your intention, and a meditation method. Following the breath as it flows in and flows out. You don't need much more than that. But once you get into that mind, you're going to find out that it's it's complicated enough. The last thing you need to do is add any more complicatedness to it. But it is, multifaceted, multi-layered, different dimensions come up, and there's a mine shaft falls in, and you've got to save your friends got to save you. Now you're calling somebody up in the middle of nowhere saying, hey, come and help me, or whatever it is. But it's a practice. And so the more that we can step into that practice, the more that we're going to be the person coming out with the diamond. And that diamond is not necessarily something that we get, but it's the fruition. Okay, it's the fruits of our sincerity to step in and to investigate and to be with this. But complicated, this is also inclusive of complicatedness. This is inclusive of our anxiety, our depression, our fear, our worst nightmare come to bear. This is inclusive of that. This doesn't reject any of that. It allows, it accepts all of that. But all of that is also impermanent and changing, and is not that awareness itself. Even the diamonds are not the awareness itself or the mind itself. It's just a fruit. But the real fruit is the waking up. Okay, the penetrating all objects, good or bad. The seeing through all. And that's quite simple. Yeah. Okay, anyone else?
I just kind of quickly wanted to say that these sessions this past week have been really helpful for me, and I hope that you continue doing them in the future regularly. Especially because I'm going through a lot right now. I'm working 2 jobs, and there's just a lot going on. But these sessions are definitely something I've been looking forward to every day. So thank you.
Okay, I will do my best to continue, and the community will continue for sure. Even if I die, there's a lot of people here, so someone can do something, right? So we support each other. All right, so let's find a meditation position, and we'll just sit for a little bit, a few moments, and then I'll read a lovely and wonderful, profound, deep Zen teaching. Right, Buddha Dasa was saying about how we're very seduced by something that sounds special and holy and mysterious, right? So it'll keep everyone meditating for a few minutes as we wrap up, right? So finding that sincere, wholehearted meditation position for our body, right? Comfortable and stable. The body sitting here, and the breath flowing in, flowing out. Practicing together, being with, just sitting, Just breathing. Aware of the body and mind. Coming back to just sitting. Just breathing. The body fully coming to a rest. And the mind also finding this home in the body. Breathing in, knowing we are breathing in. Breathing out, knowing we are breathing out. Just breathing. Just being aware. Primordial Buddha. The sun rises in the east. The moon sets in the west. When one rises, one sets. From ancient times until now, people like you all know this and see this. The primordial cosmic Buddha is infinitely boundless, independent in all circumstances, in 1,000 different daily affairs. Why do you not see it? It is because you still have calculation in your mind, and your views are limited to effect and cause. You are not yet able to transcend religious sentiments and get beyond the shadows and traces. If you instantly understand that conditional occurrence is uncreated, you will shine with illumination like the sun and moon. Envelop and support like the sky and earth. May all beings be well, happy, and peaceful. And may all beings support the wellness, happiness, and peace of this community. May it be so. May it be so. May it really be so. Okay? We can all take a deep bow to each other's practice, appreciate each other showing up, and bow to our own practice as well. All right? Thank you all for being here, and see you again soon, all right? Enjoy your moment, enjoy the enveloping of the world as the sun and sky, all right? Take care.
Thank you.